Hello everybody and welcome to a inaugural Retrobits live stream, the very first ever live stream that we have ever done. Now, that is not entirely true. We've been on other people's channels, but we've never had a live stream of our very own. So I am delighted to have all of you here aboard for this, what hopes to be an exciting day. We have an exciting thing to do. We are going to be building a Mister FPGA, not this one is mine, but we'll be building a Mister FPGA today for a friend. So, let me know if the audio is good. This is my first time live streaming, so hopefully it will not be a total catastrophe. I will try and follow along with the chat as we go, but this is a completely new experience for me, so we will try our best. And with that, let's get started. See Jason in the chat. Jason, welcome, welcome. Steve, welcome. Good to see you guys here. Might as well introduce the project. So let's start off with what we're doing today. Hey, Fulcrum. Today we are going to be building the Mister FPGA using the DE10 Nano here. Now this does not belong to me. Great, glad the sound is good. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm using the Rode mic. It's the wireless mic. It's not like the one I normally use. It's not like the Blue Yeti that I normally use for my voiceover. So it'll let me move around a bit, but it doesn't sound as good as the USB mic. So, but yeah, we'll be building the Mister FPGA with the DE10 Nano. Got all the other parts necessary to build it here. And also a brand new aluminum case from Mister Addons. I do not have a Mister Addons case for my own. Mine is a bare naked board here. But this belongs to, actually you can see him in the chat, Panay Collectibles, that's Jason. My friend who bought this a while back, I don't know, this could be a couple years old now, and asked me to build it. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to start from the very beginning and build an FPGA, Mister FPGA, from the ground up live on stream. So let's do that and see what we've got. So first up, let's take a look at some of the parts that are going to be involved in the build of the Mister FPGA. Now, as you can see here, we've got the DE10 Nano. All these parts are brand new. They've never been opened. They've never been used before. This part, yeah, exactly, bought in the good times. These things have gone up crazy in price since the start of the pandemic. And the chip shortages, they're really hard to get now. But when I built mine and when this was bought ostensibly, it was a lot less expensive than it is now. So that is the unfortunate thing. It's still an excellent deal, and I can't say enough about it. Hey Sean, Geek with Social Skills channel on YouTube. Good to see you here. Yes, Kung Fu Master. It's the Commodore 64 version. Bought for me by my wonderful partner Elaine. She just surprised me with it yesterday, and I figured what better than to wear a Kung Fu Master shirt on the live stream. So we've got that. But yeah, my DE10 Nano was bought during the good days. This one ostensibly bought during the good days. So let's open her up and see what we've got inside. Truly has never been used before. Okay, this is the, you can't really see this on the camera, but we'll open this up in a bit. This is the SD RAM module. I'm not sure how big this one is, but this will allow some cores like the Neo Geo and other cores that need external RAM. So we'll set that aside. We will need that. What else we got? USB and USB. One of these is for power and one of these is for programming the device. We won't really need either of these because we're going to power it from another power brick, so we'll just set these aside. These rubber feet, silicone feet, we won't be needing them, so we will set these aside as well because we'll be installing into a case. We won't need the feet. Okay, this is the power brick. We will need the power brick, but I'm going to set this one aside because I have my own power brick, so I'm just going to use my own. It's already right here. So And then we get to the important bit. The Mister FPGA, the heart of the Mister FPGA is the Thoracic DE10 Nano here. Yeah, and this guy is, for those of you who are Mister FPGA fans and have seen all this stuff or have one yourself, and know what this is all about, then a lot of this is going to be kind of redundant for you. For those of you who have not used one of these before, then what this is, it's a development and educational board. It's based around the Cyclone 5 FPGA here, which has both FPGA logic elements as well as an ARM CPU all in one. And so this thing can run Linux right out of the box. And from the Linux operating system, you can program the FPGA in real time. It's kind of like flash memory in that you can rewrite this thing 1,000,000 times and it will be fine. So the FPGA can be reprogrammed on the fly by the Linux operating system, and that is how the Mister FPGA project works. It runs a core Linux distribution on the ARM side of the Cyclone and then programs the FPGA for the core that you want to run. So anyway, yeah, 128 megabytes is kind of the standard maximum size that is shipping these days for the Mister FPGA. That is kind of future-proofed amount of RAM. I don't actually know how much this one is. Jason, if you want to chime in with how big this one is, otherwise, well, maybe we can see if we open it up. The one that I have on mine has 2 memory chips on it, whereas this one clearly only has 1, but it could just be a bigger chip. Oh, that's hard to read in the dark. Yeah, I don't know. The silk screen doesn't say what's on here. It just says, has a 2019 date on it. So this could be 4 years old by now. But we'll find out. We can run a lot of cores without the SDRAM, but we will need more SDRAM for some of the more powerful cores that need to load a lot of stuff into memory. So we'll come back to that. So the first thing we need to do in order to build our Mister FPGA is get the DE10 Nano out of its shell. It comes with this plastic shell. We don't need that. Fortunately, this one does not have a heatsink previously installed or installed from the factory. We would need to warm up the chip either by powering it on or by using hot air, and then remove the adhesive and the heatsink from the Cyclone FPGA. But we don't need to do that because you know, it doesn't have one. How do I feel about the alternatives to the DE10 Nano popping up in the Mister community, like the Mister X? Yeah, it would be awesome to have more alternatives. In fact, there are a lot of FPGA-based solutions out there. If you look at the Ultimate 64, if you look at the ZX Spectrum Next, if you look at the 65, the Commodore 65 project, I forget what it's called, Mega 65. Those are all FPGA-based solutions, and they can all run other cores as well as their own. So it would be good to be able to diversify a bit away from this hardware. This hardware historically has been really good for the Mister project because it has been a cost-effective way. It has been powerful enough to surprisingly run the PlayStation 1 core, the Sega Saturn core now, and even the N64 core that is in progress. So we never kind of thought we would see that generation running on this FPGA. That's going to be the limit. That generation will be the limit of what will run on this machine. But you know, there will be replacements to this someday in the future. There will be more powerful FPGAs. And with the chip shortages, for example, the Ultimate 64 and 1541 Ultimate 2 Plus accessory for Commodore 64 and 128. Those were powered by FPGAs, and Gideon, who designed them, wasn't able to for 3 years to get the parts because of the chip shortage. So he redesigned them recently to use a different FPGA and is finally marketing them again. They're finally for sale. They're finally shipping. So yeah, diversification of the hardware isn't a bad thing. And the cores can be ported to run on them. So I think that's fine. I think that's good. So yeah, next Ultimate 64 video, I am going to build the Ultimate 64 into, I think, a plexi laser clear case. And I really want to do the new keyboard that Jim Drew is going to be putting together after the keycap campaign wraps up. Once he finishes shipping out all the keycaps to backers, he's going to start a new campaign. It's going to be a mechanical keyboard like the MechBoard 64 for the Commodore, but it will be quite affordable. I think it's going to be $100 or less. That'll let you build a completely brand new Ultimate 64 with all new parts and a mechanical keyboard for a reasonable amount, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So, oh yeah, Ultimate 2 Plus, the new one. Yeah, it has been a long wait, but they are shipping now, and yeah, it's good to see that they are able to change the FPGA that they're using, but keep producing a product that people can use, because it is an amazing product. The Mister is an amazing product. The Ultimate line of Commodore products are awesome as well. So let me get this shield off, and then we'll see what else we've got to build. I've lost the question behind an icon on my OBS screen. I'm not sure how to deal with that. I assume the question is, what is the Ultimate 64? The Ultimate 64 is an FPGA-based Commodore 64 mainboard, a brand new mainboard that fits in an original Commodore 64 case, and it runs the Commodore 64 kernel on the FPGA, but it still has all of the original I/O ports. So you can plug in original disk drives, video, you can plug in cartridges, all that stuff. But it also has HDMI output. It can run in turbo mode. It has multiple SID emulation. It has all the dual 1541, 1571, 1581 disk drive emulation, cycle accurate, on board. It can do all of these things from the that the Commodore could never do. It's an amazing product. It's an amazing product. So yeah, I've got one of the 64C Kickstarter cases in transparent. I put the Evo 64 into that, but I'm thinking there's check it out. It's called the Plexi Laser clear case for the Ultimate 64, and it's quite short, but it fit because the board of the Ultimate 64 is very short, so it fits the Ultimate 64 quite nicely. So I'm thinking about that one. Oh, that's interesting. These ones are a slightly different size. We need to remove all of the factory standoffs. These are not going to go into the new case. There's a different size standoff to go into the new case. So we're just going to remove all of these old standoffs, get rid of them for now. Feel like I should have some background music playing. You'll have to forgive me for the technicalities. This is, again, the first time I've ever streamed, and I don't have OBS really well set up for it. I've only set up some very, very rudimentary camera angles. There's no fancy graphics. There's nothing like that. So you're just going to have to live with what we've got today, which is just me in a box and a couple different cameras. All right, so we've got the DE10 Nano here, and we're ready to move on to the next part. Let's see what else we've got in this box. Let's move that out a bit. Oh, nice. Yeah, the Hakko stuff is awesome. I don't know what I was doing with my $15 Radio Shack soldering iron and my manual desoldering pump for so many years, but yeah, it was pretty awesome to get those finally. It really made reworking things so much better. So yeah, can't recommend the Hakko stuff enough. All right, we've got ourselves an SD card, which of course you will need with your Mister. I think it comes with one. Yeah, it comes with one. Probably has a base Linux installation right there in it. But yeah, the bigger the better, because now we have all of these cores that use CD images. You know, we have the Sega Saturn core and the PlayStation 1 core. We have the TurboGrafx or NEC CD, core. So a lot of different cores, and Neo Geo CD as well. So bigger the better, and we've got a 400 gigabyte card here, so that should be perfectly adequate for what we need. More than adequate, really. Oh, hello. Ha! Look at this. There's a memory card in here. This has 2 chips on it. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, 2 chips on it. This is probably the 128 meg, and that one probably was 64. So hey, we got options. We will build it with the 128 meg one. Excellent, excellent. So, yes, beer, the most important part of doing a live stream. Yes. Yeah, the keyboard brackets aren't perfect. I use the metal brackets and they don't line up quite right. You can 3D print your own brackets too. There's a couple different designs for the 3D brackets there. Haven't messed around too much with that. All right, let's see what we've got here. Bunch of stuff. What we need is this one here. Heatsink, we won't be using the heatsink because the case has its own. The whole entire aluminum case is a giant heatsink on its own, so we won't need any other stuff. All right, what we've got here, turn this around, is a Mister analog I/O board, and this will plop on to the top. And Chris, it is actually, it's a Radler, not a beer. Half beer, half grapefruit. This is the Eggenberg Radler. I didn't even know these things existed until I went to Germany and I went to a authentic beer garden with a friend who had moved there for work. And you get beer by the Maas, by the liter. And yeah, on a hot summer day, it's 88 degrees today here in Virginia. And hot summer day, a nice Radler, whether it's a liter or not, is just amazing. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Hey Lee, good to see you here. More fun making it. Check out his YouTube channel. He does a lot of Commodore stuff as well. Yep, we've got a lot of YouTubers here today, which is great. I love to see the support. Got to say the retro community is just awesome. I'm gonna tear up if I start talking about how great the people are, but they really are. And it's you guys that make this so much fun to do and to be around. So I wouldn't be live streaming if it wasn't for this awesome community. So yeah. Anyway, before I get back to rambling, let's talk about the I/O board. The analog I/O board allows you to connect your Mister to RGB video sources or displays. Now, it looks like a VGA port, and it can indeed put out VGA resolutions, but what the Mister does by default is it outputs the native resolution of all of the cores, whether that's 15 kilohertz, 240p, 24 kilohertz, 31 kilohertz, 640 by 480, 480p, even 480i, through the RGB port. And so you need a display that can handle the signal that it's putting out. At the same time, the Mister will also upscale the video that is generated by the core through the HDMI port here. And you can actually put VGA, unencoded VGA, with a dongle out of this port as well. But with the RGB connector here on the analog I/O board, you can connect this to a 15 kilohertz monitor or television, PVM, anything like that, or a VGA monitor or anything else that accepts an RGB signal. And you can also enable the scaler for the RGB port. So you can upscale the video from the core, and it's very quick. Upscaling on the Mister doesn't introduce very much lag, which is awesome. And actually, there's a core that I've read about. I don't know what the status of it is, but the core for the Mister is to turn the Mister itself into a standalone upscaler. So not only can you upscale all of the cores that are running on it, but you can use the Mister as an upscaler for your original hardware. So you can plug in, your Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, use the RGB connector, and then upscale it to, a 31 kilohertz signal, for example. I don't know what the status of that is, but that would be an awesome thing. And that's one of the great things about the Mister, is they just keep making new and excellent improvements to the device and to the software that runs on it. So, if you're on the fence about the cost, if you look at the hundreds and hundreds of arcade and console and computer ports now that are on here, cores that are on here, and the ones that are still in progress, and it's just amazing what they've done so far and what they continue to do and push the limits and add new functionality to this thing. So, I was on the fence when I got mine. It was actually a gift, again, from my partner, Elaine. I didn't buy this. I was on the fence about spending at the time, $200 to $300 on building one of these, all in. And no, this has been one of the best devices. I use this for all of my video capture, for every video I make. I use this to test out games before I use them on real hardware, you know, run an Amiga on here, run a 486 PC on here. It's just, it does so many things. And I'm getting behind on the chat because I'm rambling again, and somebody stopped me. But yeah, let's get back to building a Mister. Yeah, the community is really great, and the people are awesome. And yeah, it's really fun to be part of it. So super happy with that. Commodore 1084S with the RGB input from the Mister is just, it's so sweet. It looks so good. And you can run the Commodore 64 core on this, output RGB, which is something the Commodore 64 could never do, to a Commodore CRT monitor. It looks so good. It is amazing. So it doesn't look like an emulator. It's still, you know, native 15 kilohertz video to a original CRT. It just looks so much sharper than any Commodore ever has any right to do. So yeah, pretty awesome. Favorite way to get composite out of the Mister. I've never done that, okay? I've never used the Mister for a composite signal, but I know that a good number of cores now support a new hardware add-on, which I don't have, that provides composite and S-video. I have not tested that hardware or the cores that support it, so I do not have an opinion on how well it works. The Mister from the ground up was never designed to do anything but RGB and HDMI, but now there are options to do composite and S-video, but I have not tested them, so I can't comment on that. Yeah, Sean, I am yakking, but I guess that's kind of what we're here for. I hope we can get through this. I have a lot to say about the Mister because it really is an awesome product. But yeah, so great. We have the board, and this is the right board for the job. One thing we do have to do, one thing to note is that with the case that we'll look at in a minute, the fat button boards, the ones that have the large buttons that are tall, they do not work in that board. And another thing we have to do right now is remove this fan. Because the board has a big old metal finger that presses down on the Cyclone chip with a thermal pad and uses the entire enclosure as a heat sink, so we don't use the fan inside the board. It would just be blowing hot air around inside the board. So let's get rid of this right now. And it looks like we've got a hex bit here, so let me try and find one that's the right size for the job. Too small. Too big. Got to be a happy medium somewhere. Be kind of a showstopper if I couldn't remove the couldn't remove the Now I've done this before, so bear with me while I try every single bit that I own, and if not, I'll have to go out and get a different set. But you know, I've done this before. I've removed one of these before. Aha! There we go. Yes, yes. Can do S-video without any adapter with the updated cores. Okay, cool. So you can just wire it to the pin header on the Mister or the analog I/O board somewhere. I haven't looked into that. It's something I should test out. But I've set up all of my monitors to have, you know, SCART inputs for RGB. So I use RGB for just about everything now. But it is cool to have that option. That, you know, that'll be useful to a lot of people. All right, let's see here. We've got, just unplug this guy. There we are. Okay, so we don't need this fan. I'm just going to set this off to the side. And otherwise, yeah, this I/O board is ready to roll, which is great. So I'm going to set this aside as well. And let's look at what else we've got here. Okay, this is a power splitter. I'll open it up, but we don't need to use this today. I have one of my own. Power splitter, because you need to provide power to both the DE10 Nano and the USB hub. So this is going to do that. Set that aside. And last but not least, for the Mister, we've got a USB board. Oh, okay. Take a look at this. This is my USB board. It's got 3 on this side, 3 on this side, 1 here which is power, and then the power input and another power only port there. This one has 3 and none. The barrel jack is in the middle of this. I don't believe that this USB board is going to work with the aluminum case that we have to install it in. I think this is an older revision. And that's, I guess, one of the downsides of buying the hardware and sitting on it, is that it's not compatible with some of the newer stuff. This doesn't mean we can't build the Mister as a sandwich. It just means that we won't maybe be able to fit this into the aluminum case. Let me get the case opened up and we will see if this fits or if it doesn't. Interesting. Speaking of which, here is the case. Got a Mister Addons sticker here. It's white on white, but it is their logo. Cool. All right. Red aluminum case. Oh yeah, oh wow. Yeah, that's not just red, that is very red. It's sparkly. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. The white balance is weird on the camera because it tries to auto-correct. But yeah, this is it's a lot pinker in real life than it is on the camera. But yeah, that's a very nice looking case. I like that. It's got the logo there on the side. All the ports are labeled. So we've got, if you can see that, everything has a label as to what it is. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't think this is going to work on account of, if you see here, we've got the 3, and then on this side, we've got the 3. Now, it's possible it'll still fit in there if we can, let me seat this inside and see if we can still access this power port through one of these USB, holes without anything binding up or jamming up, then we can still move forward. We'd want to replace this in the future with one that actually lines up with everything. This is also a different model than mine. If you look at the way mine connects, there's this little tiny PCB that plugs into the USB port here, goes down at a 90-degree angle, and then goes over and then connects to the USB board. That's how the USB board is connected to the main DE10 body. On this one, there's basically just a ribbon cable, or a wire bundle here with a connector. So this, it'd still work. There's no problem with plugging this in, but it's a different design entirely. I think this is just an earlier revision. I haven't seen this before, but yeah, earlier revision. So let's get this thing opened up and see if I can get the board to fit inside or not. Magnetic screws. What I'm going to do, I am going to get something to put all of my parts on so I don't lose them now. Oh, already losing them. Yes, sir. I can't claim to know whether, going backwards there's any pros or cons. It's just if you've got a display that you want to use that only has S-video or composite and you want to use it, then, use it. The living room TV from the 80s. Got a bunch of install bits here. There's the thermal pad, some standoffs, some spacers, all the stuff we need inside there. Yeah, the supply of professional and RGB capable CRTs seems to be dwindling, and the prices seem to be going up. Was not that long ago you could get a Commodore monitor, with a pretty, 600 total video lines and RGB input for $100 to $150. That's $300 to $350 now if you can find one in good shape and not have it destroyed in shipping. It's getting, and PVMs, PVMs were under $100 not that long ago, but nowadays forget about it, forget about it. Yeah, there's that foot I was talking about. This is with the thermal pad what presses down on the Cyclone FPGA and then transfers the heat throughout the entire case. They've got some thermal imagery on their website, Mister Addons. There's a plug for them. Not sponsored, just there they are. They have some imagery about how well this is thermally effective. So, all right, let's see if this USB board will fit or not. All we got to do, I guess, is set it in there. Yeah, so super close, but no, we're not going to be able to power it this way because that's as low as it goes in the board. Let's flip it around and try the other side, just for good measure. I don't think that's going to change. Yeah, see, all the USB ports line up, so the design is very, very similar, but the power, I would have to trim the case. And I'm not breaking out a Dremel and destroying this beautiful brand new case just so we can plug it in. What I will do instead is we'll build the Mister Sandwich today. And these USB boards are cheap and they're a dime a dozen and you can get them on Amazon and eBay. And with the new board, then we'll migrate everything into the case at a later date. The only thing I'm not going to be able to show you then is putting it into this lovely case. But that's just an aesthetic thing. We'll have a fully functional system. We'll do the install. We'll load the software. We'll load some cores. We'll walk through the whole process. We just won't do it in a beautiful, shiny red aluminum case today. So, all right. Well, these things happen. These things happen. No big deal. Yep. Set this off to the side. All right. All right. Better have another drink so that we can continue talking. Set this over here too. All right. So now that I've gone ahead and taken all the standoffs off, we're going to need the standoffs back because now all this stuff has to go back the way it was. All right. I'm not going to put the heatsink on, and I'm not going to put the fan back on. Now, some of you may be like, well, you took them off, you should put them back on before you run it. However, what I've heard from people that I trust in the Mister community is that these boards they don't ship with any kind of thermal cooling at all. They are made for industrial applications and work fine, especially for short periods of time like we'll be using it today, without any additional thermal cooling. We're not going to put any high loads on this. We're not going to be running anything that's going to really work this thing out today. So I'm not going to put the heatsink on because I'd have to take it right back off when we put it into the case. So let's not do that. Let's instead just get started building the sandwich. And the first thing we have to do is we have to take our I/O board here and the 4 screws that we originally had with it. I found them, okay. And they go in from the top like so. And then we're going to put the spacers, the original spacers, back on like this. Who has real MT32 Pi and MIDI hardware for their Mister? I have an SC55. Those are affordable. I do not have an MT32. Those have become very unaffordable in recent times. I've done a video on this. You guys have seen this. This is the MT32 Pi. It's a Raspberry Pi with a hat on it. The hat plugs into the analog I/O board, and the control happens over the I2C channel, and the audio returns right back and is mixed into the Mister's audio. It's an amazing little thing. Vastly improves the experience if you don't have real hardware. I'm keeping an eye open for an MT32, a real one, but yeah, the prices on those, they have gotten up there. I think I see one for $150 on local Craigslist recently. That's about the best deal I've seen. Okay, next we're going to take the analog board and we're going to fit it onto the main body of the Mister in such a way that it still exposes this port here for our RAM upgrade. So let's do that. Make sure all the pins are properly aligned here. That's all you got to do. Just make sure the pins are aligned. And yeah, press it into place, just like that. So now we have the analog board with no fan and no heatsink. But like I said, that's going to be okay for now. And then we will swap this out real soon anyway. Okay. Next up, we need more standoffs. More standoffs. Let's see, there should be some in the package that I said we didn't need, but now we're going to need. Looking, looking, looking. Oh, maybe they're in the, no. Wherefore art thou standoffs? Oh, interesting. We've got some, yeah, all right, we've got these plastic standoffs here instead with some spacers. These are different from how things used to be. That's interesting. So this USB board uses little plastic standoffs instead of the metal ones in the newer model. So you take these little plastic standoffs and then there's little plastic nuts that go on the end of them. These are plastic nuts. Are these threaded? Or do they just push on? Interesting. Huh. They don't look threaded. No, they're not threaded. I think they just push on. So we just take our USB board, align it however we want. This is the way. And put it on like that. And then put on these little feet on the bottom, I guess. I've never seen this before. This is new to me. Older version, I guess. But yeah, let me just do that. Put those on like so. Okay, before we move on, let's get the RAM installed. I'm going to get the one with the 2 chips out. This one is probably the 128 megabyte module. I don't have scissors right here. That'll work. Yep. Out you come. All right, so, ooh, that's interesting. It shipped wet. It's like flux or something. Oh dear. That thing was in packaging with moisture for years. Look at this. It's all corroded. This is no good. All the little caps and every leg on this thing have become corroded. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but ew. Yeah, no, I'm not going to put this on the new Mister because that's weird. That is really strange. This was sealed with moisture in the package and it smells like flux, but huh. No, I've never seen that before. That is gross. Can you see that? It's all corroded. Nasty. Oh well. Yep, we're going to set that over here. Good thing we have a second one, right? We'll use the smaller one. Wherever I put it. Got so many packages of things everywhere now. Lost track. Half of these packages are empty. Did anybody see where I put that? Oh, it was white out in the open. I was looking for a silver package. Instead, this is it. So, yeah, this one's in good shape. No problems there. So we will install this guy right here, like so. There we go. That's all there is to it. Yeah, maybe I'll drop it in either some vinegar or some IPA and see if some of that corrosion can come off. But they're not super expensive, the RAM modules, so it's probably not worth it to damage the underlying hardware, just in case. I'm sorry, I think the warranty on this has expired because it's probably been sitting for 2 or 3 years. That's too bad. All right, we've got the RAM installed. Let's throw on the USB hub. Once again, this is where the USB connects, so we'll put it on like this. Like that. And then, yeah, I'm going to use these standoffs instead of the little ones that it came with. And then you can put the silicone feet on the bottom standoffs, no problem. That'll keep it from sliding around the desk, anything like that. So this is a weird build. I haven't seen these parts before, so, you know, I'm kind of fudging it as I go. But, yeah, kind of interesting. Okay, yeah, 32 megabytes can't do Neo Geo. Yeah, and I wonder if that's for certain Neo Geo cores or games or all the games. I'm not sure about that. But okay, there we go. So now all we have to do is plug in the little USB micro here, like that. And that connects our USB port to the main DE10 body. And that's it. We've got ourselves a Mister with an old USB board outside the case. So let's get this thing installed and see how it works. So, time to switch gears, guys. We need to do an install. So, we need to move over to some documentation. Oop, okay. So here on the Mister Wiki, which is on github.com, you can see the address here in the description. There is a setup guide, and it gives you 2 options on how you want to set up your Mister. The first one is the Mister Fusion installation method, which is recommended. This has been around for a couple, 3 years now, and Mister Fusion is just a image of an SD card that you can write to your SD card with any operating system you want, Windows, Mac, or Linux. With, oh, did I get the RAM backwards? Did you guys? There is no, this side faces out on this RAM. On mine, the chips face inboard. On mine, the chips face inboard, and there's a warning that says this side out on the RAM. Let me switch back to the overhead view as soon as I can. Oop. Yeah, on mine it says this side out, and the chip is on the inside. So I put the chip on the inside because there's no verbiage on this board that says inside or out. So yeah, the consensus is I've got the RAM backwards. Yeah, I kind of see that now because the way the board is shaped, the RAM sits, the PCB sits inwards, not outwards on mine, even though the chip is on the other side. Okay. Thank you guys, appreciate that. Haven't seen this one and it doesn't have the warning printed in the silk screen like on mine. So, all right, great. We're working together. You guys have saved my bacon. Appreciate that. There we go. Flip the RAM. Oh, the 3 connectors on the RAM need to be plugged into the board. That's what you guys are saying. Okay, let me check. Yes, yes, there are three. All right, yes. There are three pin headers right there in a little cutout on the I/O board where the RAM connects, which is what you guys are talking about. Mine, yeah, doesn't have that. So a different design that I haven't seen before. I'm glad you guys are along for the ride because I would have missed that entirely. I did not notice that. No experience with this particular unit. But there we go, yeah. So those three pins are now installed in the pin headers. Good team effort. Yes, thank you, people. Appreciate you saving my bacon here. Look awful foolish if I fried this thing on the first power-up, right? So awesome, awesome. All right, where were we? We were going back to look at the Mister Fusion installation method. This isn't the only method that you guys can use. There is a Windows install version down here that is a Windows binary that you can run called the manual installation method, but this is only for Windows. This is the old way of doing things. So we're going to do the Mister Fusion, which is really easy. All you got to do, click on the link to Mister Fusion, and it will take you to the Mister Fusion GitHub. And then from there, we just go to the releases page, and we'll get the latest image.zip file. There it is. And downloaded. Let's, oh, there it is. We'll just make a copy of that. Boom. There it is. Okay. This is a brand new installation of Windows. I am borrowing this laptop. I literally set up OBS today with all of the cameras and everything for the first time on this laptop, which isn't mine. So yeah, I didn't have anything suitable for streaming down here downstairs. Yeah, old RAM version, old RAM board version, and old USB board version. So yeah, no smoke test. Thanks, guys. You saved my bacon. So excellent, excellent. Oh yeah, one other thing here. The sync on green, we want to turn that off. We're not going to be using that, the switch here on the I/O board. I just want to make sure I had that in the right position. Great. So we've got the software, right? So now we need to burn it. And you have a couple options for Windows. I'm going to use this thing called Win32 Disk Imager. It's kind of a, it's free and it's pretty simple. There are others. You can even use DD on a Linux box if you want. You just specify the image as an in file and specify the device as the out file, and you're good to go. Let's find the image we just downloaded from our downloads, Mister Fusion. And then we need to take the brand new SD card. Let me find that. We'll get inside here. Hopefully, won't be too much of a challenge. Yeah, sometimes you never know with blister packs if you're going to be able to get inside them or not, but this one doesn't seem to be too bad. I might have spoke too soon. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, I think I see the solution. Hey, yeah, we did it. All right. So now we have our SD card right there. Big one, big boy, 400 gigabytes. And since this laptop does not have an SD card reader in it, I've got this little USB SD card reader. So we'll just stick the card. It goes the other way, of course. Of course it goes the other way. Oop, like that, and put it into the computer. There we go. All right. USB drive. Oop. Get rid of that. And now we can hopefully select the device. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I need to reload it now that I've shut that off. Start it again. These are the challenges we face. Ah, yes, better. Now that I've reloaded it, it says drive E is available. Let's load that image a second time, Mister Fusion, and let's write it. Do I want to destroy the device? Yes, I do. It's only 120 megabytes, a very small image. Just, oh, there we go. It's just the OS, the base OS. It has no cores, no ROMs, no software, nothing like that. When we take the Mister Fusion SD card and stick it into the Mister, it will boot up and automatically resize to the correct size of the entire card. And they say it should take 2 minutes or so. So I guess we'll find out. now. Okay. SD formatter, Mr. SD utility method. I haven't done that method. I did the old Windows method before Mr. Fusion came out. That's how I built mine originally. And I've done Mr. Fusion a few times since then. I have not tried any of the other methods. So what's that in front of the +4? Oh, yes. That is a Breadbin 64. I've sprayed it with Plastidip, which is a removable synthetic rubberized coating. So I had some left over from when I did it with my car, and I'm like, let's see what happens when you put it on a 64. So it should peel right off when I'm tired of that color. It feels like a basketball. It's very rubbery, very interesting. It gets dirty real easy. I have a cat, and it just, cat hair sticks to it like you would not believe. So it's really hard to keep it clean. Okay, here's the SD card on the DE10. Pop out the old one. This has, ostensibly the development environment on it. Pop in the new one. It goes in upside down. If I can get it. There we go. There we are. All right. So now we have the Mister with the SD card in it. I'm going to attach it to the laptop with the HDMI port, and then we'll give it some power, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Anything else that I need to check before we apply power to this thing? We've got the Mr. Fusion image installed. The RAM is the correct way. The I/O board is installed. The USB hub is installed. I think we're good. I think we're good. There's a 30-second delay. You guys have 30 seconds to stop me before I put power to this thing. HDMI to the capture device on the laptop. I've got power here, and I've got my splitter, which splits the power to both boards and has an on-off switch. I'm connecting it now. Well, look out. Yeah, we're going to light this candle. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because of the way the USB board is, you have to plug in the power on one side and the other. I'm used to having them both directly below each other. Interesting. Okie dokie. Yes, let us pray. Cabbage pray. Let's hope this all goes well. We've got the video capture turned on, and I'm going to flip the switch. Yes, this is my Mister power supply for my Mister plugged into this Mister. Careful with those switches. Push the button. Hey, we got something on the screen. Oh yeah, there we go. Yes, 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 yes. I think I got it from Mister Addons, or this is like 2 or 3 years old, but it's pretty standard to have the splitter and then add the power switch to the splitter. I don't know where I got it from now. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Fusion now enhanced with AI. They must have put out a new release just to get that crack in there, because everything is AI these days. Yeah. Released on 6/8, I'm reading it backwards because of USA, 2023. So yeah, this is this month, just early this month. Yeah, if I was wiring this up with my own stuff, I would definitely want to check the polarity, but because I know this cable works with the DE10 Nano, I wasn't too worried, because yeah, this is my personal power supply. And it looks like we're done. It looks like we have, oh yes, we are. We have a running Mister. Yes, we do. Look at that. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So what we need to do now is connect up a keyboard so we can fiddle a little bit. Let me get a keyboard. On my Mister, I use not a USB, I use a Bluetooth keyboard. Not this one, this is a regular old USB keyboard. I use a Bluetooth keyboard that's designed for a tablet. It's very small and uses very little battery, and it's rechargeable. So it goes with me everywhere it goes. It's got the tablet mouse and the tablet keyboard. And it works great on the Mister because, you don't need a keyboard that often. You just need it when you need to use a computer core or to change something. So, oh, is the static bad? Yeah, you can change the background image. And in fact, there should be there should be some default background images. Can somebody in chat look up what the F key is, or the keystroke combination to change the background, and we'll do that. But before we do that, I'll punch F9, and now we're in the command prompt, and it's going to be very, very tiny because the default text size is illegibly small. So apologies if you can't read this. I can barely see it. I will fix that. That'll be the first thing we do. Let's fix the screen size, and then we will try and change the background. Yeah, there's a hotkey to change the background. If you guys know what the hotkey is, hey Dave, AquaCow, nice to see you here. If you guys know what that hotkey is, we'll fix the background afterwards. I have a variety of bitmaps on mine, but they're not on this one. Okay, hopefully my face didn't freeze. It's still working on my PC. Maybe I just broke the stream. All right. Anyway, to log into the command line from the main Mister menu, you just punch F9. F1 for background. Let's see if it works. Yeah, hey, there you go. Nice. I hit F1. We now have a non-static background. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Very good. Okay. We now have a background that shouldn't wreck YouTube and the compression. Aha. Awesome. Okay. Let's see what other backgrounds we've got while we're here. F1. Again. Oh, colors. Other colors. Vertical bars. Oh, gradient. Yeah, that's good for the algorithm, the compression, right? That's going to gradient. All right. And black. Yeah, black is probably the best. It'll use the less bandwidth. We'll use black for now. So now that we're back at the main menu, F9, and once again, will take us to the command prompt. I'm sorry you guys won't be able to see this, but we'll fix this right now. To log in to the Linux command prompt, you type root user, and the password by default is 1. Look at that. Now we've got the root prompt. Excellent. So the Mister configuration lives in media fat, and there's going to be a default Mister example.ini here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the Mister example.ini to Mister.ini. And I'm telling you what I'm doing because you probably can't really see it. Heck, I can't even see it. But there we go. We have Mister.ini, and I'm going to edit Mister vi Mister.ini, not edit. Okay, yeah, this is tiny, tiny, tiny. So let's just fix 2 things, and then we'll come back to this file in a way that we can see it. The first thing I'm going to change is the size of the text. I'm going to change it here. It's FB_size equals 0. I'm changing that to 2. That's going to change the scale of the text and make it more legible. Okay? And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to the video mode, and I'm going to change it from the default, which is 1024 by 768. I'm going to change the video mode to 1080p, 1920 by 1080. And then I'm going to type reboot. Oh, well, if your screen is big enough, yeah, you can read it. I'm on a laptop in a window, so very small. But yeah, let's do this again. There we go. So now we have a proper 1080p resolution, and we have a proper size scaled command terminal for those of us who are on laptops with small little screens. So once again, media fat is where the file exists, and you can have up to 4 Mister configs here. You can have Mister.ini, Mister alt1, alt2, and alt3. I made a short video on how to do alt configs. Now I believe that they have implemented arbitrary naming for the Mister config files, so you can give them more names that make sense to you, what they actually are. The way I did it in the past is I created Mister.ini files with long names, and then I symlinked them to the specific alt1, alt2, alt3 names, just so I know what was what. But yeah, I looked in the Mister documentation yesterday, and I didn't see any mention of what the new file naming convention is. So for now, I'm sticking to the old convention. So in Mister ini, we have a whole bunch of things that you can change, which is advanced stuff when you're hooking it up to different monitors using the analog RGB. I set the video mode, and they have predefined these 14, 15 different video modes here, so you can pick one if you want 1024 by 768 or 800 by 600 at 60 frames. Then you know, all you have to do is change this one line down here, video mode equals 8. If you want to customize your video mode, you can use video mode equals, and then it has all of these parameters, which I'm not really well versed on what they all are. But this is clearly a 1280 by 720 you know, video mode that has a variety of vertical and horizontal parameters. There's a web page that helps you craft these, but there's also this format here, which you can say video mode equals 1920 by 1200 by 60 frames a second. So if you want to do a 50 hertz kind of PAL thing, you can make a video mode for PAL, and you can have your multiple configuration files for your different displays, which is perfect. But for video capture purposes, we're going to go with 1080p. Now, another couple things you can do with the Mister are composite sync. Now, if you're using a PVM that requires composite sync, it doesn't have special separate horizontal vertical sync, then you want to change this to 1. And since I might, if we have time, actually hook up a PVM, but I'm going to set this to 1 for now so I don't forget later. And then there's the VGA scaler. Like I said, by default, all of the cores will output their native resolution. So 240p, 480i, 480p, 15 kilohertz, 31 kilohertz, whatever they output natively will come out of the RGB port. If you turn on the VGA scaler, it will then upscale that to the video mode that you've set below, or you can set a per core video mode and scaling. All of these options, these are global options, all of these options can be repeated on a per core basis, you know, down to the bottom of the file. So you have a lot of flexibility with setting up the Mister INI. Yeah, in the scripts, there's a script that actually pops this open in an editor and lets you edit this kind of interactively. I always edit it from the command line, but you can edit it interactively as well through the user interface. We may take a look at that. But yeah, VGA scaler is a very powerful feature. If you have a monitor, a VGA monitor that can only sync down to 31 kilohertz, 640 by 480, you want to turn this on. But if you have a PVM or a 15 kilohertz monitor and you're going to run an 8 or 16-bit core, an Amiga, a Genesis, an NES, a Commodore 64, you're going to want to keep this scaler turned off. And again, you can do it on a per core basis. So that's all the things we're going to mess with right now. There are more advanced things in here, but we don't need to mess with any of these. So I'm just going to save that, and then we'll just hit F12 to return back to the Mister menu. Okay. Great. I'm glad you guys can read that. Again, I am in a small window on a laptop, watching it inside of OBS. So I don't have another display here to use. Yeah, if you now hit the escape key, we can see that there's a scripts thing, and it's going to warn us, hey, this is dangerous. Scripts run as root, and they can control the system. You're going to run scripts, so yes, don't ask again. The next thing we really need to do here is turn on the Wi-Fi. There is no Wi-Fi module currently attached to this machine, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the one from my machine, and we'll stick it on here. Because in order to download updates from the network, we're going to need Wi-Fi. So let me plug that in. I'll plug in my Bluetooth as well, so we can use a Bluetooth controller. Okay, now you see another icon has appeared at the top next to the word Mister. There's a little Bluetooth icon now. So we've got the Bluetooth. The Wi-Fi is not enabled until we go down here to the Wi-Fi script and run it. This is like a one-time thing, or if you need to change it. All right, searching for Wi-Fi networks. We'll pick our Wi-Fi network. Hopefully I get the password right. You need to get the Mister on the network, whether it's a hardwired connection to your Ethernet or to your Wi-Fi with a little USB Wi-Fi dongle, which is what I just plugged in. I think they're like $5 or $10 at the most. They're very inexpensive. Okay, now you see up at the top that we have a Wi-Fi icon as well. From the main menu, if you hit the left arrow, it'll now show you the IP address that it's got from your DHCP server. So I am 1.223. Now we can SSH to it and edit the file through SSH. We can SFTP to it to move ROMs and images to the machine. So that's what we want to do now, is because we don't have any cores, it says no files. We have nothing to do here. So actually, let's do one more thing before we download updates for the Mister, and that is configure our controller. what I've got here is a Xbox One controller, and it has the wireless dongle. I use this on my PC, and if we just set this into one of the free ports on the USB hub and turn it on, it's already synced up, so we're good to go. If we go back to the hit the escape menu and go to define joystick buttons. You need to do this once. The first time you connect the joystick to it, you need to define what all the buttons are so you can navigate the menus with it. This Xbox One controller, I need to take it apart because it has some drift on the left stick. So yeah. RAM size, I don't know. See, there goes the drift. Yeah, I don't think the menu will show you the RAM size here. Oops. This is the Linux memory. This is the onboard memory. This will not show you the extra memory that we've added here, unfortunately. So, yeah. Update all is the next thing we're going to do right after we do the controller, because the update script won't do all of the things that we need to do. Yeah, I'm going to try and wrap this stream up in about 30 minutes. We're very close to actually having a running system now. So let's get through this. So yeah, we're going to define the joystick buttons. Right, tilt, down, right, left, down, up, A, B, X, Y, left, right, select start, mouse move right, left, down, up, mouse button left, right, center, sniper. Menu is a 2-button combination. Menu OK, menu back, right, down. Okay, so now I've set up the joystick, and now I can use the joystick to manipulate the settings as well. All right, scripts. Back to the scripts. Normally what you would do at this point is you would run, yep, it's an Xbox One controller. It's got drift. You can see it drifting. Yep, the next thing you'd want to do is you'd want to run the update script here. This will download all of the, geez, it's really going crazy today. This will download all of the cores, the latest versions of the cores from GitHub, the official cores. It will download all of the cheats. It will download all of the video effects, the overlays and video effects. So the, the scan lines and all of the well, we'll look at that in a bit. I forget what all the different versions are there, but they're in there. So let's not run the update though, because this doesn't download any of the arcade cores or anything like that. This will just download, let's just say download the official stuff and the legal stuff. And we want everything. We want all the arcade ROMs, which are all available on archive.org, the Internet Archive. And the update all script is what will do that for us. So let's switch back to our web browser for just a moment. And let's take a look at the update all project here. Here you can see the URL for this on GitHub. It's called update all Mister. And this is a script that will do a lot more than the stock update will do. So all we need to do to run the update all is to find the actual script. There's a zip file here somewhere. Let's see. Setup. Download the zip file. So here it is. Let me copy the link for the zip file, and then I will paste it into a notepad so we can all see what that link looks like. There's the link. I'm going to switch back to the Mister, and we're going to go back to the command prompt here. In temp, I'm just going to run wget, and I'm going to pull down that zip file with wget. I could download it to the PC and then use FileZilla and SFTP it or SCP it over to the Mister, but this is just as easy since we're here already. So wget, and I have to do a, I think it's, let's see, yeah, no check certificate, because there are no certificates, there's no root CAs or anything installed on the Mister's OS at this time. So it will fail the certificate check on this HTTPS. So do this at your own risk. Obviously, you don't want to do this on something that you don't trust. See if I typed that right. Yep, I typed it wrong. All right. GitHub.com, THEYPSILON, update underscore all underscore Mister releases. Oh, yeah, I missed it. Latest. There we go. Aha, yes. All right. Unzip update all.zip. And then if we copy update all.sh to media fat scripts, isn't it there? I don't know. Media fat scripts. Yeah, it's there. Update all.sh to here. There we go. It's there. Let's go back to our prompt. Scripts. There it is. Update all. There we go. Memory module is shown to the right of the icon next to Bluetooth. Oh, is that what it is? There's no way to click on that or to otherwise activate it. 1/3 shows that it's 32 megabytes. Okay, awesome. I didn't know that. I've only ever seen it full because mine has the 128. That's very interesting. Good to know. Thank you, MPP0. Time zone I'm streaming from. This is Eastern time, Eastern US time. So yeah, it's 5:13 p.m. Eastern. All right, let's run update all. Boom. Okay, now update all is going to do a bunch of things. It's going to update the underlying Linux OS. It's going to give us a menu if we hit the up arrow. And so we can choose the options that we want update all to do. We want the main distribution, of course. That's everything, all of the cores. We want the Hotego cores. Hotego develops his cores outside of the original Mister framework, so they're not on the Mister official GitHub. So if you want the Hotego cores, you need to install them either separately or through this interface. You can also, if you're a member of his Patreon, you'll get a JT beta file that you can drop onto your SD card, which will unlock any of the current betas that he's working through. Better cores for the names in the menu. I mean, yeah, we can turn that on if you want. Let's turn that on. Why not? BIOS database, update BIOS files for your systems. Yeah, by default, this updater, the normal updater, will not install anything that's copyrighted or otherwise not open source or free software. So yeah, BIOS files are sticky wicket. Like the Amiga BIOS files are still owned and sold. The x68000s aren't. Sharp open sourced and released them for free. So if you want to get all of the BIOS for all the arcade games and all of the systems, then turn this on. And it will get them from Internet Archive, not illicit sources. This won't go to anywhere weird or strange, but yeah. ROMs for arcade. Yes, we want the ROMs for the arcade. Otherwise, if you didn't do this, if you ran the regular updater, you would have to download all of the ROMs for the arcade, either piecemeal one at a time by yourself and then upload them to the SD card. And otherwise, this is the easiest way to do it. You just set it and forget it. So we're not going to look at all these other unofficial things. Super Attract, we looked at that in an old episode. That will run games for a period of time in a carousel. So you can have the Mister, when it's inactive, when it's idle, running different games on the screen for 30 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever, just as an attract mode. It's pretty neat. There's other content, wallpapers and things like that. We don't need any of that. So I'm going to save the settings and then we will update them and then we'll exit and run update all. Or normally we would. I am not going to exit and run update all. The reason being is that it takes between 20 and 30 minutes to download all of the cores and everything you need from the Internet Archive. Internet Archive is an awesome resource. It has a lot of emulation and a lot of ROMs for all the old systems. Look up TOSEC, the old school emulation center. It's on the Internet Archive, and they have a TOSEC archive for just about every system. And all the arcade ROMs are there, but dubious legality, and also for the purposes of live streaming, very, very slow. So we are not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down yield Mister that we've just created and not updated yet. Yeah, the first update will take will take legit 30 minutes. So I'm going to power off the Mister. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out the SD card. I can find it. It's right there. I'm going to swap out this big SD card that is really just got nothing on it right now for one that I made last night, which is a very tiny 8 gigabyte SD card that is exactly where we left off just now, with the exception of I actually ran Mr. Update All and downloaded all of the cores and all of the ROMs. I didn't hit F1, so I didn't change the the background. So hold on, I'll do that. We'll have the background changed in just a minute. Are you gonna do the here's one I prepared earlier? Yeah, here's one I prepared earlier. Let's go back to the dark. Yep. So here's one I prepared earlier, guys. Yes, I wanted to see how long it would take, so I waited I timed it last night. 22 minutes it took to download and the update on a fresh SD card. So now we've booted the machine and it looks a little bit different. Now we have arcade, computer, console, other, and utility. We can run the mem test here. I've never actually run the mem test here. I'm not sure how long we wait for this, if there's going to be an output. It looks like it's going to, based on how slow the green thing is incrementing, I'm going to say this will take a long time. Maybe we don't do this on the stream. Maybe we don't run mem test on the stream. Yeah, I just pulled it out of the oven. You know, we just saved you guys an hour of your life. So yeah, now we have all of the arcade cores organized by alphabet, region, or by collection, which is nice. You can do manufacturer, genre. So if you want to look at, you know, climbing, building, driving, first person, this is one way to navigate them, and Update All updated them in this fashion. So, but we have all these arcade cores now. In addition to all the arcade cores, of course, we have all the computer cores. So, you know, if we wanted to fire up the Commodore 64, boom, we've got the Commodore 64. And by default, it looks like it uses Dolphin DOS. We can change that if we go to hardware and change it from loadable C64 to standard C64, reset the machine. Boom, we've got the standard C64 kernel. We can do anything we want here. We can change the core right away. What else do we have? We have all these cores for the PC. Minimig is the Amiga core. We've got the NEC PC 88. We've got the PCXT. If the AO486 core is too fast for you, then we've got PCXT, Apple I, Apple II, Atari 800, Atari ST, TI-99 4A. All of these cores ready for you to mess around with, the X68000 core. We also have consoles, all of the consoles right here for your entertainment, ready to go. You know, Game Boy 2-player that uses the link play. Game Boy Advance 2-player. You can have the analog video on one screen and the digital video on another, and have two players playing two separate cores linked together through a virtual link cable. Genesis core. Hey, let's fire up the Genesis core. We need to look at some of these things. We can't just keep going by them, right? Yeah, as a chef, I prepared games for you too. Every core, when you play it for the first time, will default to a set of controls based on the number of buttons on the controller that you've already set up. It may not be to your liking. So what I do whenever I start a core for the first time is I configure the core to my liking so that the buttons are mapped the way I want them to be. They will work with your controller, but you may find that the coin button is a shoulder and the start button is like, you know, Y or something. So the default mapping isn't usually very smart, but you don't need to if you want to live with it. I prefer to do so. So yeah, we've got that. We can check out some arcade cores. Galaga, huh? We've got Galaga set 1, Galaga 3. CRT filter, yes, I will do a filter for you right now. To do filters, you simply go to the Scan Doubler FX. No, that's not the one. We go to video processing, and then we can load a preset, or you can change all of these settings, the shadow mask setting and the filters yourself. For the preset, if you want kind of like a medium scan line thing, I don't know how good this is going to look on YouTube, but there we go. We've got medium scan lines. You're not going to see too much with a game like this, which is mostly black background. Yeah, always configure a controller before you play for the first time. That's kind of, it's really easy to do. Let me turn on the controller again, and I'll show you how. Press the menu button, which I've bound to start and select. Then go to button key remap for game. Here on the menu to the right. It's one menu to the right always. Button key map for game, and then, oh, that's not the one I want. I didn't mean to do that, I apologize. That's not the one we wanted. Define buttons, that's the one. Right, left, down, up, fire, start, coin, pause. That's it. Now remember to save your settings if you changed them. And that'll create an ini file for the core. And now we can put in coins, and I'm not a Galaga player. This is not a game for me. I'm gonna botch it real bad. No, I literally don't play this game. I do love Gyrus. Gyrus is a great game. Banging soundtrack in Gyrus. Whoa, hey now. Yeah, one thing is that I'm playing this through video capture on the OBS screen, not on an actual directly connected monitor. So I have a good, 15 frames of video lag or something like that. So it's going to make playing any games relatively difficult. So here's one, since we're already close to it. We do have Kung Fu Master on here, but Outrun is recently released. And it's pretty good now. We need to do the same thing here, define the buttons, right, left, down, up, accelerate, brake, gear, start, coin, credits, save the settings. What do you think? We're like 30 seconds desync, so I'm just gonna pick Passing Breeze.
Get ready.
You can hook up an actual analog force feedback wheel and pedals to play Outrun. There is a guide on how to do that. I haven't done it yet, but it's totally on my list of things to do. We're going to play some Outrun with a force feedback wheel on a CRT, 15 kilohertz CRT with RGB output on the Mister FPGA, and it's going to be so freaking glorious. Pretty good, right? It's not perfect. The core's not done yet. There's still some video tearing and some video artifacting, but like generally speaking, pretty darn good. Brakes are for wusses. We don't need brakes. Just a little lift on the throttle and we're good. All right, I won't bore you guys with too much of one game here. Let's see what else we've got. You can type hotkeys. So if I type Kung, you get everything that matches Kung. Why wouldn't I? You know? Again, playing this with a ton of input lag and a ton of video lag because because I'm playing it on the OBS capture screen, but you know. Oh, what a jerk. You know, I never noticed when I was a kid how repetitious the song is. It literally is only 3 phrases. It's A, 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 B, 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 A, 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 C, C, B, B, A, 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 something like that. Very repetitive. Would you guys like to hear a little bit of MT32 music before we wrap up for the day? Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Here, I've got the MT32 Pi. Let's plug this sucker in to the I/O board. I'm actually just going to shut the machine down when I plug this in, just on the safe side, just to be on the safe side. Turn it back on. Now, while we load the core up, we need to go to audio video. We need to, nope, that's not the one. MT32 Pi menu, yes. And we're going to use MUNT. You guys want MUNT or do you want SC55? Let's do SC55. Doesn't matter what MUNT ROM. Sound font 0, I believe. Let's see how this works. I'll even turn up the volume a little bit. Hey, it's working. Can't read what's there. Oh, yeah, it sounds so good. I'm not even going to play the game. We're just going to listen to the music, and that'll take us right to the end of this live stream. I want to thank you all for joining us today. This was an amazing experience. I loved hearing from all of you. Thank you guys for all of the help. I hope you learned something. Glad that it worked. You know, first time, more focused on the technical aspects of the streaming than the actual performing of the streaming or talking to the people. So, you know, I'm really glad that it all worked out. So yeah, thank you all for joining me. This was a great experience for me. I hope you had fun too. I hope you learned, you know, a little bit about the Mister. It is such an awesome product. There's so much you can do with it. If you don't have room for a whole bunch of retro machines or the budget to buy all of the different hardware and hook them up to things, this will get you, you know, running on all those vintage systems, hooked up to a CRT or a flat panel, any display you want, you can run with this thing. The options are, I don't want to say endless, but they keep coming out with new stuff, hardware solutions, new cores, things to play with. You will never run out of things to do when you've got a Mister FPGA. I can't recommend it enough. Even though they are expensive, if you look at the price of an Amiga these days, or building a 486 PC or something like that, you know, you get all of that right here in this tiny little package for much less, So it is totally worth the investment, I think. But yeah, anyway, thank you all for joining. I hope you had fun. I guess we'll have to do this again sometime. It seemed like it went pretty well. So yeah, I'm going to sign off, and we will see you guys on the next one.